Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast. I'm Craig Phillips. Jeff's still on vacation, so another solo episode for you today. Just going to go through some of the top waiver wire pickups for the week. You know, not the most maybe inspiring list this week, but there are a couple guys towards the top here that I think could definitely do you some good in your leagues, especially running back wise. So we'll get into that in just a minute. Make sure you guys though go check us out on Twitter at the FF Prophet. We're on Instagram at Fantasy Football Prophet. You can go to the website fantasyfootballprophet.com. On there we'll have our full waiver wire rankings. We'll have, the regular rankings coming out here tomorrow, all that good stuff. So check that out. If you guys have any questions at all, you can also email us at fantasyfootballprophet@gmail.com. So I'm just going to get right into it. Waste no time here. On the rankings this week, this is how we do the waiver wire. We take the ESPN list, and any player that's owned in 50% of ESPN leagues or less is eligible for our list. So with that, Darren, McFadden, and Alfred Morris both find themselves eligible based off our criteria this week. I know in most people's leagues, once the news came down last week of Zeke's suspension possibly being reinstated, Morris and McFadden were picked up if they weren't already gone before that. And sitting here, this is early Tuesday morning, still don't really know what's going to go on with Zeke. And so hopefully that'll get wrapped up today before the waivers actually will go through overnight for most people. So we'll know if you need to spend a lot on Morris or McFadden. But if Zeke is suspended, these guys are going to be quite valuable. But the problem is there's two of them. Which player is actually going to be more used, or is it going to be a 50-50 split, just hurting their value? And I know I see a lot out there. It's probably people are leaning Morris in some ways because he's obviously been the back that's active while McFadden hasn't been active for any games. But there's also people that say they were just keeping McFadden inactive in case this happened. They needed him to step in for Zeke. I don't know. I guess you can see either point of view. No one really knows. No one's going to know until the game starts on Sunday. And, neither. And if Zeke's out, we'll know who the back is, how they're going to use it. I find myself leaning towards McFadden slightly, but that's just maybe more of a gut feeling. There's nothing to base that off of that I have. So it's going to be a complete guess. Maybe you can get both of them. That'd be wonderful. If you're a Zeke owner, you definitely need to try to get somebody here. And I want to say I still lean McFadden, but I can obviously see the path for Morris as well. But maybe it's going to be more 50-50 split. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Take your chances on either one. And, if you feel strongly for Morris over McFadden, sure, go that way. I have no problem with that either. It is a tough call. No one out there is going to know, except for probably Jason Garrett. So other than those two, I think the top waiver wire pickup of the week is going to be Orleans Darkwa. Had a just amazing game against the Broncos. The Broncos defense had been shutting down everybody, both in the pass and the run this year. We had talked about earlier in the year, like in 2016, they weren't a great necessarily run defense, but they had stepped up this year and they were that. But then you get Darkwa, just when it looked like it was possibly Wayne Gallman's backfield. Darkwa gets 21 carries, 117 yards against them. Following up last week where he had 8 for 69 and a touchdown before he went out with an injury. So he's going to be the top of the list, most people's, and I think he should be. You take your chance on him. Maybe this is his backfield. Over his career, this is actually his 4th season now. He's been decent. He has a 4.5 yards per carry over his career of 117 carries. So he's been a decent player. He hasn't been spectacular. But I can see that maybe they're going to give him a chance possibly. I thought they were going to give Gallman that chance. So it's hard to say for sure how it's going to go. But I think you take the chance. Anytime you get a running back, you get a potential new starting running back, you take a chance on him. And at this point in the year, what are you waiting around with your waiver claims for? I think it's too late to be playing around with those. You try to get one of these backs if you're a running back, if you need a running back badly at this point. You try to get, one of the guys here. Darkwa, do I really think he's going to be a top end option going forward? I really don't, just because of the way I typically think the Giants seem to be using their running backs. I mean, if Perkins comes back here, he's probably going to have some work. There's still Gallman. I think they want to see what Gallman can do. It's tough to say for sure. I've liked Darkwa. He was actually in my super deep sleeper list before the season started, so I did see the potential there. But yeah, take a chance on him. I think at the very least they're going to give him another look next week and see what he can do. But again, it's Seattle next week, so it's a tough one. Then they got the bye the week after. So just kind of watch that. The next player on our list here is going to be Deontay Foreman, a guy we have talked about before. And again, he looked, pretty solid. He's getting more and more carries every week for the Texans. And it's kind of become a split backfield with him and Miller in a way, where he's not going away. He's getting double-digit carries. He's looking good in getting those carries. If there ever was an injury to Miller, Foreman's going to have a good role. And if, it's possible they just don't really think Miller is this complete 3-down back where he's going to get all the work every, 20s plus carries. It's not quite happening for Miller. If you look at his numbers, he hasn't hit 20 carries on a year. He's hit quite a bit, at least 14 in every game. So it's pretty solid there. But then Foreman comes in. His carry numbers have been 12, 8, 13, then 4 only last week, but then 12 this week. So he's consistently getting carries. He's not going away. If you're a Miller owner and Foreman's out there, pick him up, put him on your bench. I think at this point, you need him for that. Next guy is another guy we have talked about a little bit here, and that's going to be Alex Collins. Collins, another solid outing. He definitely, this Baltimore backfield's another one that's just kind of confusing. I don't really know what to expect week to week. Last week it was Javorius Allen, 21 carries. This week he drops down to 10. Still fine, 10 for 49, not bad. But then Alex Collins is the one who's getting the majority of the carries. He had 15 this week. So Collins' carries now have gone 7, 9, 9, 12, and 15. Picking up every week. He's been productive every time he gets any kind of work here. 82 yards, 55, 74. He's been consistently, just decent. He's not, I'm saying he's overly spectacular, this great player, but at this point, you kind of just need players that are going to get you points, especially if you're hurting for injuries. You need these bye weeks coming up. Collins is a good player to put on your bench. See how he does. That's a bit of a tough matchup this week at Minnesota. You probably wouldn't want to start him, but then there's some potential decent matchup in Miami, Tennessee. He could get something there. So pick up Collins again. Don't need to go into him too much, but again, it's these backfield committees are tough to know what's going to happen every week, and they seem to be changing, but take a chance on them. The next guy I got on my list, CJ Prosise. We haven't seen him in a bit. He's been injured. Last year when he was out there, he looked like he was just a playmaker, looked dynamic. I really liked what I saw from Prosise. And with the backfield this year, no one's getting it done right now with Lacey, Rawls, McKissick's there. I think you're going to see a chance for Prosise to show what he has. Not saying I'm guaranteeing anything, but Rawls, Lacey, they're not getting it done right now at all. Lacey for sure. He's just not much there. Rawls, not much there as well. I think it's going to be Prosise is going to get at least a chance to show what he has. And if he does something, could get more work going forward. So pick up Prosise. I think he's the most talented back in the backfield there for Seattle. He'll be using the pass game, run game. So hopefully he can get healthy here. Hopefully we'll see him out, but pick him up, put him on your bench, see what he can do. How about some wide receivers? John Brown, another guy we know. Everyone knows John Brown has talent. It's just, can he stay healthy? Will it put it all together? Again, it's not much volume. He only had 3 catches, but he got 63 yards, got a touchdown, back-to-back weeks with a touchdown. They are maybe easing him back into it, using him a little bit more. So it's nice to see that. It seems like he's healthy right now. So John Brown's another guy that, if he can ever get on the same page with Palmer, if they really start looking for him, he's talented enough to put up big numbers and be a good wide receiver option, especially wide receiver. I thought wide receiver was quite deep going into this season, but it hasn't, to me, turned out that way. There's a lot of guys that have been missed on prior. Martavis Bryant, Mari Cooper, those kind of players are just not quite there. So pick up John Brown. I think there's a good potential going forward for John Brown again. Nelson Aguilar, got to talk about him. he's getting touchdowns. It seems like the touchdowns aren't going away. He's now up to 4 touchdowns on the season in 6 games. We talked about him a bit when we did our Carolina-Philadelphia game recap on Thursday night. And again, if you're a wide receiver needy team, Aguilar, you can go do much worse than him. And he's getting a few targets. He's getting touchdown looks, big play looks. Again, it could continue. 4 out of 6 games is starting to become a little bit of a trend. So I like what I'm seeing from Aguilar as well. All right, some other guys. How about Chris Ivory? If you're a Leonard Fournette owner, you got a bit of a scare the other day. It looks like it was just an ankle injury from him. They're saying he should be good to go against the Colts this week. But again, you don't know for sure. They'd have the bye week the week after. So it's not out of the question that if there's a little bit more to it, if it's not quite healing right through the week, not quite right, maybe they sit him. There's always a possibility. And Chris Ivory, he's been a good running back in the past, and he's been getting consistent numbers. He's getting 4 or 5 points in standard every week. So he's consistently doing that. He had 13.7 this past week in a standard league. So if this is maybe this is a time where you might start to need a handcuff situation. And, Chris Ivory looks like he's the clear handcuff to Fournette at this point. So you put him on your bench, I think. If you have the spot and you're a Fournette owner, I'd like to do that. Some wide receivers. How about more wide receivers? More potential, I guess. Mike Williams finally got out there, saw some action. Only got 1 target, but got 1 catch. Obviously, they're just easing him back into the thing for the Chargers. So it was nice to see him even play and show up a little bit. This could be bad news for Tyrell Williams owners. He hasn't been overly impressive on the year, and so it wouldn't be a shock at all if his snaps start to go down a little bit. Looks like they already did with Mike Williams out there. So that's good, good to see for Mike Williams owners. People have been stashing him, and I think there is something there. He's obviously a top 10 pick in the draft. He has, unlimited potential. This week, though, going against Denver, not the greatest matchup, but week 8 against New England, maybe week 8's his coming out party. So if he's out there in your league, go pick him up. Another guy with some potential, Corey Davis. He's been injured, hasn't been out there, but Tennessee could use him in the pass game. So if he can get healthy here, he has Cleveland coming up week 7. Maybe there'll be something there. But again, their bye week's week 8. Could definitely see him holding them out again till then. But if you can use the bench spot for him, it's a good stash, because he's, again, 5th pick in the draft. He's a great talent, great player. Definitely could see him breaking out in the second half of the season. There's no doubt he could be in that, that much potential and that talented. Some other players here, just to name off some guys. These are getting pretty far down the list here. Dion Lewis, I've been liking what I'm seeing from him every week. Mike Gillislee is not taking over that backfield as the main back. Dion Lewis is getting a lot of work, and he's starting to get more and more. And it's not just pass game, it's carry. So Dion Lewis is a good add as well, I believe. Some other wide receivers maybe you could throw on if you need some bye week fill-ins. Marquise Lee, Jermaine Kearse, those kind of guys. They're going to be out there every time for you. Juju Smith-Schuster, it's an interesting one. With the news that Martavis Bryant had asked for a trade. I don't know how accurate that is, but obviously he hasn't been the player that a lot of people hoped he would be. So the rookie in Smith-Schuster has been out there. He's been playing, getting 3-4 catches a game. If anything were to happen with Bryant, this would increase his value quite a bit here with Smith-Schuster. So just keep an eye out on him, especially in deeper leagues. If you can throw him on your bench, it's a good add as well. Some other guys, Josh Doxson got another touchdown. So again, not much volume there, but he was a talented player, a top draft pick who might be getting himself into the game plan a little bit. But again, there's only 1 catch. He's only had 4 on the year, but he's got 2 touchdowns. If he can ever get, into the game flow and playing a little bit, maybe since he's finally could be healthy, he had the talent to do it. Let's see if that's still there and if he can, step up. Because Terrell Pryor, Jamison Crowder, they've been big disappointments so far this season. So that could be, maybe a chance there for Doxson to still do something. Taylor Gabriel for the Falcons here, for the Atlanta Falcons. That's mainly if Sanu's still out. Gabriel could be a bye week fill-in. They're playing New England. That's mainly the reason why you could possibly use him this week. New England's still just giving up a lot of passing yards to every team they play. So Taylor Gabriel, if you're in a complete bind, you need somebody to play this week, especially if Sanu's out, throw him on your bench. Other than that, there's not a lot of great options. Some leagues are going to have maybe Matt Forte could be out there. People have dropped him. He looked like, he's still going to be the main guy. If Powell will probably be, once Powell's back. But McGuire wasn't quite, it's McGuire. He never was a great prospect. He was just, people were hoping for the workload there. And it's just not quite there. I think Forte's going to still be getting, the majority of the carries. And other than that, there's nobody that's really standing out to me right now that's just, a great pickup. Maybe I'll look at some defense, streaming defense-wise. One of them I would like coming up this week, probably be the Titans because they're playing Cleveland. Again, anytime you can get a team going against Cleveland, you look for that. And Titans will be we're not going to, that's no major news. Anybody playing against the Browns, if they're available, you're definitely going to try to get them. Some quarterback streamers, not as great of options this week. Jacoby Brissett, he looked pretty good, decently fantasy-wise, but he's going against Jacksonville this week, so if you're thinking about him, probably try to stay away from it. And then I guess if you're in a complete bind, you have no one to play this week at quarterback, Blake Bortles could be an option playing against the Colts. Colts haven't been good against quarterbacks. Blake Bortles does have weeks. He's only had 1 week this year that wasn't really any good. But this is complete desperation play. If you need somebody, maybe Bortles is the best of the bad options. Still not necessarily recommending it, but you could probably do worse. Maybe a Trevor Siemian going against the Chargers. Simeon's been decent, but again, there are not a lot of great options down here this week. Tyrod Taylor, though, against the Bucs, that could be a decent one. Bucs haven't been very good against the pass. Tyrod Taylor he's had his up and downs, but that could be a decent option as well. But I think that's going to do it for the waivers this week. I'll be back tomorrow. Got some rankings. We'll have a special guest for the rankings shows the next 2 days. We'll go through all that. Make sure you guys, if you have any questions, hit us up on Twitter at the FF Prophet or Fantasy Football Prophet on Instagram. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.